Good afternoon, friends. Now we are discussing module number two. So that is forecasting in operation management. What is forecasting? So planning can be done based on the estimation of the future events. So forecast is predicting what will occur in the future. So meteorologists forecast whether sports casters and gamblers will predict the winners of football games, and companies will attempt to predict how much of their product will be sold in the future. So meteorologists will forecast what will be the weather condition in the coming days. So sportscasters and the gamblers will predict the winners of football games and cricket or any other games. So companies are trying to predict how much of their product is going to get sold in the coming future. So demand forecast is the estimation of likely sales demand for a period. So what will be the demand for sales for a particular period? So that is demand forecast. So it is the basis for most important planning decisions. So why there is a need for demand forecasting? Why? Uh, so there will be forecasting of demand for the sales or for the production or whatever organizational activities. So most of the industrial activities will be based on the future sales. So demand forecasting is nothing but how much investment is needed in labor, machines, and materials. So it will demand forecasting will help in scheduling the production activities so that whatever available resources like men, machines, and materials, so that these resources will be utilized to the maximum extent. So material planning, so that we have to make sure that material availability in right time with the right quantity. So if we know the number of sales of my finished product, so then accordingly I can plan my production. So if the production planning is done, so then material planning has to be done to, so that the raw materials and tools will be available in right time with the right quantity. So to know what will be the future trend of the market. So market trend will not be the same. So it is going to change every moment of time. So market scenario. So it will be most of the times it is uncertain and it is changing very fastly. So long-term objectives. So here, deciding the plant capacity. So if we know the future sales of my finished product, so then I can plan my production activities. So to know to plan the production activities, so I should know what will be the capacity of the plant. If I have a smaller size plant, I cannot plan too much of production. So sometimes the demand is too small, and but the cost of production will be too big. So then manpower planning. So determine what is the manpower needed to meet my production requirements. Long run production planning. So adjustment for fluctuations in the market. So financial requirements for the long run. So if I have the plan of running my production unit for long time, so working capital and capital for expenditure to be planned. So then budgetary control over the expenditure. So budgeting will help the variation in the actual and planned expenditure. So my planned expenditure will not be exactly matching with the actual expenditure. So there will not be most of the times there is no comparison at all between the actual expenditure and planned expenditure. So budgeting helps to minimize too much of variation between these two. Then steps in forecasting. So first step is to determine the purpose or use of the forecast. Then establish the time horizon of the forecast. So whether it is a short, a medium, or long range plans. So here the first step is to determine the purpose or use of the forecast. So here the level of detail required in the forecast is like what is needed, when will be used, so that my forecast purpose will be determined. So why this sales forecast? If I am forecasting my sales, or if I am forecasting the demand for my product. So the purpose is here. So when that demand is to be met, and how this demand will be used, so that the demand for my product, whether my end product is reaching my customer or not. So the amount of resources, like so the personal, computer time, money, so all these things can be justified at the level of accuracy necessary. So here, so that is the determine or the purpose or use of the forecast. So second one is establish the time horizon of the forecast. So that is short, medium, or long range plans. Then third step is to obtain the clean and appropriate data and analyze it. Then selecting the forecasting technique or model, whether it is statistical or qualitative. Then gather and analyze the data needed for forecast. Then make the forecast. So that is the forecast has to be made. So then implement the results and monitor the forecast errors to adjust when needed. We'll continue in the next class.